There's a pattern that keeps repeating itself in our culture. An artist comes back and promises a return to form. A franchise comes back and promises to bring back the magic. A brand brings back an old product. They're not just hoping the new product is good, they're hoping it makes them feel the way the old one once did. That's why Kanye releasing a new album still matters to people who say he fell off years ago. That's why a new Harry Potter series can make people feel nervous before they've even seen a full episode. That's why adults will buy a Happy Meal that was never really made for them in the first place. Nostalgia is a drug, and you can never go back to who you were when it first hit.
But you know, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times. If one only remembers to turn on the light.
Most people think they miss the music, the movie, the food. What they really miss is the way those things felt when they first entered their life. When people talk about him returning to form, they're not only talking about technical quality, they're talking about the version of Kanye that felt larger than life, unpredictable, and impossible to replace. They're talking about the feeling that albums like Graduation gave them when his music still felt like it was opening up a new future.
Kanye West, Glow in the Dark Tour. It's on sale now. Glow in the Dark Tour.
That is why every new release gets measured against more than just songs. It gets measured against a memory. When people say the new HBO series looks too much like the movies, what they're really saying is more emotional than logical. They're saying that the world already has a fixed place in their mind. They already know what it was like to discover that world when they were younger, when everything about it felt bigger and more magical. An adult Happy Meal is not really about convenience. It's not even about the food. It's about attaching a present-day purchase to a childhood emotion. What people want is not the meal, the reboot, or even the album. They want the same feeling they had the first time they experienced it. Memory does not store experiences as a clean recording. It is selective, emotional, and distorted. When people remember a song, a movie, or a brand from an earlier time in their life, they don't remember it in isolation. They remember the age they were, the people they were around, the room they were in, the possibilities they felt, and the version of themselves who existed at that moment. That means the product itself was only one part of the experience. The rest of the experience came from everything surrounding it. They missed the version of themselves that the old culture was attached to. That's why nostalgia can feel comforting and painful at the same time. It is not only bringing something back, it's quietly reminding you that a certain version of your life is gone. It not only makes people remember the product, it makes them remember themselves. Nostalgia is one of the strongest emotional forces in modern media. It is safer than invention. It gives people a built-in emotional response before the product even arrives. That's why reboots keep happening. That's why brands keep milking the past. That's why people will show up to the Harry Potter series even if they say they don't need it. That's why people will pay attention to Kanye even after years of chaos and disappointment. But they also fail in very specific ways. They can attract attention, but they cannot guarantee emotional return. They can reopen the door, but they cannot restore the room exactly as it was. I'm saying these things are entering a world where memory got there first. It removes boredom and only leaves behind feelings. So when something new enters to compete with something old, it is competing with the version that had already been romanticized and merged with a period of life that cannot be repeated. That is why nostalgia can make perfectly good things feel disappointing, and disappointment is a sign that the old feeling was never meant to be recreated.
These are dark times, there is no denying. Our world has perhaps faced no greater threat than it does today. But I say this to our citizenry. We will continue to defend.
It is easier to believe something lost its magic than to accept that you yourself have changed. Sometimes you think you miss a person, but you actually miss who you were when you were with them. The answer is not to chase the past forever. The answer is to stop waiting for something old to make you feel something again, and start becoming someone new who creates that feeling for themselves. Someone who's creating something that has never existed before.